People who knew celebrities before they were famous, how different do they act now? Back in 8th grade, Tyler was just the weird kid who always forgot his lunch. He had these beat-up Vans with holes in them, a backpack that was literally held together with duct tape, and he'd always be eyeing everyone else's food during lunch. I didn't really think much of it. I'd just slide over half my sandwich or one of my mom's leftover empanadas. Dude, you'll owe me when you're rich and famous, I used to joke with him. Tyler was always drawing these crazy comic book characters on his folders and notebooks, like everywhere. His math homework would have Spider-Man swinging through algebra problems. The teachers hated it, but I thought his stuff was actually pretty cool. He'd stay after school sometimes just sketching in the art room because his mom worked late and he didn't want to go home to an empty apartment. Sophomore year hit, and Tyler just vanished. One day he was there doodling superheroes on his history test. Next day his desk was empty. Nobody really knew what happened. Some kids said his mom moved them to another state for work. Others said he got into some trouble. But honestly, most people just forgot about him after a few weeks. Fast forward like 15 years later, and I'm scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch. I see this new animated series called Shadow Realm that everyone's been talking about. The art style looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. I clicked on it anyway because I had nothing better to do. The opening credits start rolling, and there it is, created by Tyler Ramos. My jaw literally dropped. I paused the show and Googled him. Sure enough, there's Tyler, all grown up, wearing a designer hoodie and giving interviews about his hit series. Turns out he'd been grinding for years, working at some animation studio, living in this tiny apartment in Burbank, just drawing nonstop. But here's the crazy part. I kept reading these articles about him, and in every single interview he'd mention this kid from middle school who used to share his lunch with him. He never said my name, but he'd talk about how this one friend kept him going during the hardest time in his life, when his mom was working 3 jobs and they barely had food in the house. I'm sitting there reading this stuff, and my heart's pounding because I realized he was talking about me. Those lunches I thought were no big deal, they were literally keeping him alive some days. So I did what any normal person would do. I slid into his DMs on Instagram like a total creep. Hey Tyler, this is gonna sound weird, but we went to school together. Lincoln Middle School, 8th grade. I used to sit next to you in Mrs. Garcia's English class. He responded in like 10 minutes. Holy shit, no way. You're the empanada guy. Dude, I've been trying to find you for years. We ended up having this 3-hour phone call where he told me everything. How those lunches got him through his mom losing her job. How he'd save half the sandwich for dinner sometimes. How my stupid joke about owing me when he got famous actually motivated him to keep drawing when he wanted to give up. But here's where it gets really wild. A month later, I get this package in the mail. It's this massive box with a note that says, "Told you I'd pay you back." Inside was every piece of Shadow Realm merchandise you could imagine, but also this original sketch he'd drawn of us sitting at our old lunch table, sharing that sandwich. At the bottom, he wrote, "For keeping me going when I couldn't keep myself going." The craziest part though, last week he flew me out to LA for the season 2 premiere. Red carpet, fancy after party, the whole deal. I'm standing there in this rented tux, watching my middle school lunch buddy give interviews to reporters, and I kept thinking about that kid with the duct-taped backpack who just needed someone to notice he was hungry. Tyler introduced me to everyone as the friend who saved my life, which made me super uncomfortable because I literally just shared food like any decent person would. But watching him up there, successful and happy, talking about his dreams coming true, man, it hit different.